guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, Give Me My Senior Coffee, Even Though I Am Not a Senior. For this story, let's do the setting first. I work at a fast food restaurant. I have seen my fair share of choosing beggars, often not too bad, they just want something extra. Or something we don't have anymore and they get mad about it. Like I said, it isn't too bad for what I have experienced so far. But this one guy really takes the cake. We offer coffee at a reduced price for people over 65 years. That's just a little extra we like to do for the seniors. This guy, let's call him John Doe. I don't even know his name. He came in one day and he was standing behind one of these seniors, and heard he only paid the reduced price. John Doe was surprised when he needed to pay the full price. Mind you, John Doe is nowhere near 65. I explained to him why this was and how it works. He went off about how ridiculous it was that he had to pay full price, because he was a hard-working citizen and these elderly people do nothing else than sit around the entire day. Meanwhile, the senior was still standing there while John Doe went on with this angry speech with some colorful language thrown in there. It was almost embarrassing. Then he threatened to come back with a lawyer and he would sue us. I am sure I will win this, because this is discrimination, John Doe said. But off he went with his coffee and his newspaper. It took a while, but he eventually came back. Of course without his lawyer. But again he went on this rant, how unfair it was he had to pay the full price. John Doe explained how he went to another restaurant, which also belonged to the same franchise as mine, and he got his coffee there for the reduced price. I once again explained to him that I can't do it, because those are simply the rules I have to follow. He told me he knew the supervisor of our restaurants and my supervisor had promised him that he would always get his coffee at the reduced price. Next time John Doe said he would have talked to my supervisor and my supervisor would put me in my place. I am not an idiot, so after this happened and upper management came in for that day, I went to them and explained the situation. They said, no, he has to pay full price, he isn't 65. Luck would have it that my supervisor came on that same day and I told him about John Doe. The supervisor said, I don't give coffee at a reduced price to non-seniors. And even if I did, it would have been a one-time deal. A few months went by without ever seeing John Doe. Then our other restaurant closed down because they were rebuilding the place, so John Doe showed his face again at our place yesterday. Before even trying to order a coffee, he tried to recruit a senior to buy him a coffee so he would get it at a reduced price. The senior said he would, so the senior ordered himself a coffee and an extra coffee. I had noticed this and I let the senior have his coffee at the reduced price, but the other coffee at full price. So John Doe begrudgingly gave the senior extra cash so he could cover the entire cost. Afterwards, when John Doe left, I went to the senior and I explained the situation and how John Doe has been acting towards us. The senior already had a feeling something was going on, because he's a regular customer and he knows me normally as a friendly type. Today John Doe showed up again. And once again he tried to recruit the same senior to buy him coffee. The senior explained to him, he wouldn't do that and told him why. So John Doe was mad and demanded to speak to me. So when I showed up at the front, he once again went on a rant about how he knew the supervisor and he always got his coffee at a reduced price at the other place. And how ridiculous it is, now that the other place is temporarily closed, he has to pay full price at our restaurant. I told him I spoke to my upper management and my supervisor and they both told me he had to pay full price. Then he really exploded. You're calling me a liar? I will now go to the other place and I will tell them what happened here. And when I come back you better watch yourself. Somehow he still bought his coffee. This time I was just done with him. Especially because the other place is still closed for another week, so tomorrow he's gonna be here again. So I once again told my upper management what happened and how the guy has been acting. They were firm and said, he has to pay full price. And if he doesn't like it and goes off again, you can kick him out. Meanwhile they began to contact the supervisors and the other restaurant. And then the big twist comes. Turns out at the other restaurant he does get his coffee at a reduced price. However, the current upper management there doesn't know how or why it's done, because it happened before they were there. So when I heard this, I felt my stomach drop. I knew he would be back tomorrow to yell at me again and they are gonna tell me I need to give it to him at a reduced price. But no, I had it wrong. My supervisors told us that he would not get his coffee at the reduced price. Furthermore, the other restaurant is now also gonna refuse to give it to him at that reduced price. My upper management will be in before opening tomorrow to handle this guy, if he turns up. So I wonder how that will end. But there you see, if just accepted the full price without going off, he might still have his coffee at a reduced price at the other place. Now he has to pay full everywhere. The next story is titled, Tried to Trespass on My Property? Not anymore. A little background, I grew up out in a small town in the middle of nowhere, and there was a wash that ran through our property. For those who don't know, a wash is a giant area where water comes down from the mountains. Ours only ran when it was raining long and hard enough. I would often go down this wash to this large area that was covered in trees and bushes and such, but had a trail going through it. I would go along this trail and hide in the bushes and would hunt for quail on occasion with my .22. This happened about a year ago. I was by this trail, with my eyes going around waiting for one of the local quail flocks to pop up. I only needed about 5, so I figured I wouldn't be out very long. About 20 minutes of sitting out there, some kids started riding through the trail on their quads. I stepped out to ask them to stop, and after the initial shock of seeing a 16-year-old kid randomly pop up out of nowhere, they just laughed saying, "Yeah, whatever man," and left. About 5 minutes later, they were driving through it again, and were making more noise and screaming. I saw one of them spit in the bushes as they drove by, and since that's where I was last at, I figured he thought I was still there. I had changed spots to get a better view on one of the smaller trails that connected to this big one. After that I knew they were gonna continue being obnoxious, so I packed up and left. The next day, I headed back out. I had gotten to the trail again and set up in the bushes. Not even an hour later these FCKs were driving around again making noise, so I came out and told them to leave once again as they were scaring off the game. This time, what appeared to be the ringleader scoffed at me, saying something along the lines of, "You can't kick us off public property, murder, and why don't you just buy some meat at the store instead of killing these helpless animals?" Our closest store that sold meat, it's a supermarket that named itself after a wall, not only had very crappy meat, but also didn't sell quail, so he just sounded like an idiot saying this. After another hour of putting up with their bull SHT and noise with nothing good showing up, I saw a couple quail, but they weren't fat enough to eat. I finally packed up and left. Cue the revenge. I knew they were going down the wash through my property, so I drove down to the aforementioned store and bought 2, "Keep off, private property," signs and went home. The wash walls were pretty high on one side, not so much on the other. So I had to stick a post in the ground near it, then wrapped barbed wire around it and had 3 lines attached to the wash wall. I then put one sign on it with some zip ties, and went to the other side which already had a post since that was labeling a part of our property line. So I did the same thing on that end, attached the second sign, and went home. The next day I went out to go, finally, get some quail, and brought an extra roll of barbed wire with me tied to my bag. Before I was even off my front porch, I could hear the screaming of a frantic teenager. I went back inside, grabbed my handgun and went out there to check the damage. Turned out one of these dumb ass thought that ramming into the barbed wire would take it down, no problem. While it did come down easy, it was still a big problem, as the second he rammed into it, the bits that I had attached to the wash wall had whipped out and ripped up his arm and back pretty bad. They had called the cops and the 2 with him were cussing me up and down while I assessed the damage. The kid was bleeding a lot, so I of course wrapped up his arm with my undershirt and had him lay on his stomach and used my jacket to put pressure on his back. Eventually a cop showed up with an ambulance and they took care of him while the cop took statements. This is what I remember of the conversation ensuing. DF equals dumbass friend, injured. D1 equals dumbass 1 D2 equals dumbass 2 me equals me and C equals cop. What happened? Speaking to me. Well D1. This son of a BTCH. This GODDNM wire here. He's trying to kill US. Century. Excuse me, I was talking to me, now shut it. Now, what happened? Me. Okay, well I was out hunting the other day D2. Yeah, he's killing other things too. ISNT that also illegal? Century. Calls his partner over to take the 2 dumb asses away so he can talk without them screaming. Me. Okay. I was out hunting the other day for some quail, and these guys came over and started making noise. I asked them to leave, but they continued being obnoxious and I couldn't get any game. The next day, they came back out and started making noise again. I asked them to stop, but they continued again. So I put this up yesterday since I knew this is how they were getting through to bug me. This morning I heard screaming, so I grabbed my dad's gun and ran out. I found this situation and bandaged up DF until you arrived. After this, I was of course told not to hunt alone, as I need a guardian with me, and was let off with a warning. The other kids were arrested. I pressed charges for harassment, destruction of property, and trespassing on private property. I got a written apology from all three of them and never saw them again. And the quail tasted amazing that night. The next story is titled Injection Molding Salesman Tries to Scam Our Family Company into Giving Him €3,600 worth of equipment. It happened today and I have to share. Maybe at this subreddit people would appreciate a story like this. I am a 22-year-old woman who just graduated as an engineer. After my graduation, my father, who is also an engineer, wanted to give me some money to help me start the life I was working for in the past years. Mind you, we live in Europe, so he wasn't paying for my education, but he also wanted to make me kind of earn it and at the same time help me with the start of my career. He has a small injection molding company and had some machines that were not used in the past decade, so my job was simply to sell these machines and then get a certain percentage of commission. Meanwhile, I can work with people in the field because I really want to work in the same field with plastics as my father. I searched for months and months to find a company who is a big-time seller and would charge us nothing less than the price we were asking for. These are companies that usually charge for commissions too. I found our guy, a salesman. Let's call him Steve. Steve didn't not seem amazingly competent at his field, and I noticed it immediately even though I'm a beginner also in the industry. He asked questions about stuff that was written down previously and were easy to interpret if you know just a little about injection molding machines, or just searched it on Google. Furthermore, he wanted us to pack an almost 4 meters high machine into a way smaller truck because he did not want to pay us for dismantling it. And with that, he also risks the machine falling off of his truck, not to mention a fine if the authorities catch him with the dangerous transportation of a machine that weighs 8 tons. But whatever his company paid for it, he is the one who's bad at logistics. The last machine's delivery to another company happened 2 months ago. Today I received an email. Hi, this is Steve. So the other company we sold your IM machine to is complaining that when they unpacked it, the machine did not contain the temperature controlling units. Please help us solve this problem and satisfy the other company and send us the units that were left off free of charge. Insert the other company's email here in plain text in English. He did not even bother translating it, just copied it from the other email. We are not native English speakers and he wasn't either. This is just simply rude and unpretentious. Hi Steve, it is me Op. The 3 temperature controlling units were not in the deal that we sent you and you paid for. They are separate machines with separate serial numbers that are not the part of the IM machine. We just sold you the IM machine with the serial number of XX. Hi, it is Steve. We talked it through with our customer. And they are really angry still. Even you, a girl in the industry, would understand that the machine could not be used without the temperature controlling units. I hope it is understandable even for you. The pictures you sent us of the machine months ago contained the units. And we thought those were the part of the deal and an IM machine couldn't work without them. Because of the picture you sent us contained the units, you must send them to us free of charge urgently. Also, here's a picture of another machine our customers bought back in 2014 and it had the units when they were unpacked. Apparently I got angry at him for pulling the "you are just a girl you wouldn't know" card, and the fact that he is asking for 3 temperature controlling units that are €1,200 each. My final answer to him was, "Hi Steve, it is Op. You as someone working in this field also should know, even if you're a man, that electricity is also a must for an IM machine and we didn't provide that either. Oh, and a mold for injection molding was on the picture too, either that was not sent. We would gladly send you the units if you can point out the part of the contract where the serial numbers of the units are as the proof that we sold them to you. We just sold you the IM machine." The next story is titled Buy Nothing Group People Driving Me Crazy. These are just a few examples of this below. I'm a giving person, but due to my recent experiences, I feel so burned. So I'm in my local Buy Nothing group and I give away a lot of nice things in there. But recently a few things have happened that make me want to stop doing it. I have a hoarder that lives across the street from me. I used to set out free piles, but she grabs stuff for herself before anyone else can even get to it. She is also in that group. I've given her quite a bit in the past within the group, but I stopped when I realized she's a hoarder. I've watched her get lots of things in that group and it goes promptly to her garage and goes there to die, which is stacked full of crap from the floor to ceiling. It is completely full of stuff. She doesn't give anything away in the group. I had set out a bookcase on my front lawn yesterday and it was meant for someone else in the group to come pick it up. It didn't have a free sign on it. My hoarder neighbor grabbed it and promptly took it across the street to her house. She's always sitting out in front of her house smoking and watching the neighborhood. I feel like I live in a fishbowl. It's very rare that I can open my front door and she isn't staring straight back at me. It drives me crazy. Yesterday a lady in the group, who is ironically named Karen, came and got some free stuff from me, a lot of really nice cookbooks. Didn't once say thank you. She didn't even remember that she had already come to my house 2 times recently for other stuff. I actually messaged her and said, "Thank you goes a long way and would have been appreciated." I blocked her after that. I'm so sick of people who can't even take the time to say thank you but they literally comment on your post within minutes of you offering the free stuff. I posted 4 things in a group for free and within a minute of posting, some lady commented on my post saying she wanted all 4 things and asked me to deliver them to her too. Then there was a girl in her 20s who was getting a new kitten and was asking for things for the kitten. I, of course, being an animal lover, wanted to help so I asked her what she needed. She wanted everything, even kitty litter. I tried to talk to her a bit about how she would eventually need to make sure the kitten is spayed and if she needs help with that, I would pay for it and transport the kitten. She didn't have a car and needed me to drop the things off to her, to and from the appointment. She said, "Well, I have to discuss that with my husband first because I might let her have a litter of kittens." What? So you're telling me you can't afford kitty litter? She said she couldn't afford it because she didn't get paid for 3 more days. Or basically anything for this kitten, but you might let the kitten have a litter of kittens. I tried to nicely explain to her that I would help her, but the kitten really needs to be spayed and that there is a pet population problem with so many unwanted animals already and asked her please not to contribute to the problem. I also explained that part of being a responsible pet owner is making sure you can provide for that animal, and that kitty litter, etc. is an ongoing expense. She told me I was rude and blocked me. I dropped the stuff off to her anyway because I wanted her to have it for the kitten's sake. I left a note with resources in our community for low-cost, free spaying. Then there was the lady who I gave a really nice living room rug to. Over 30 people had commented on this post in the Buy Nothing group and wanted it. I made the stupid mistake of choosing her. So after I did, she asked for more photos and said she wanted to see more photos before they would accept the rug. I sent her 15 additional photos of the rug. She waited a day between each reply, 2 days total, before replying back. She came and got it late and I had to keep moving it in and out of the garage because it started raining. Then she messaged me later that day and said, "I'm so disappointed. It looks way too blue in our space and I will need to give it away." Okay crazy lady. I had sent her 15 more photos, with and without flash, so she knew what color it was. She made it seem like I was trying to make her take the rug or something. I give things away in these groups to try to be a nice person, to try to do something nice for others. It would be so much easier to just take the stuff to a donation center rather than taking the time to take photos, post, respond to people, tell them where I live, etc. It makes me feel like people are just out to get free stuff and that's all they care about. It leaves me with an ick feeling when what I was hoping for was to feel like I had done something someone appreciates. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.